Hello, it's April 17th, 6:30 p.m., and this is the meeting of the Planning and Development Council of the Town of Oakville. Madam Clerk, we have no regrets except for Councillor Chisholm, and let's keep it that way. We have one little matter that I want to cover right now, and that is to take a chance in public to thank Charles McConnell for his 20 years of service to the town and 37 years to the municipal sector. This may very well be the last council meeting for Mr. McConnell, who has decided to retire. I've heard a story that this will increase the amount of time he has for golf or some other pastime that he likes. And Charlie, it's been a pleasure working with you all these years, and I wish you nothing but happiness and success in retirement. It's been,
Your Worship, I really do appreciate it. It's been a wonderful 19 plus years that I've had to serve this great community, this great council, yourself and your leadership, and that of Jane Closey, Neil and Gabe and everybody else. So the planning of Oakville is in great hands going forward. Thank you again.
it's been great working with you. Now, Council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And Madam Clerk, I see none. And so now if two of us would move and second a committee of the whole, we could get on with our business. Councillor McNeese and Councillor Lischina, thank you. Any objection? There being none, that's carried. And now, Council, we have a delegation who wants to delegate on the confidential consent item number 5.1 on the agenda. And I would like to get a motion for all the consent items as presented. Councillor Nanda. And with that, I would like to ask the clerk to invite the delegate to make his presentation to us.
So our listed delegation is Bill Outridge on behalf of the applicant. And he is virtual this evening.
We will pause for virtual connection Mr. Outred, I can see you logging in. You're welcome. And when you unmute yourself, there you go. Council looks forward to your information.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Burton. And good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of Council Planning Committee. Just want to have a short delegation with respect to this particular property at 16 Arkendo Drive. As the company's aware, it's essentially an item that went to the Committee of Adjustment about a month ago or so for one particular variance, just the RFA variance. We felt it was relatively minor. Planning staff felt otherwise and indicated that the variance did not meet the 4 tests. We pursued it regardless, obtained the committee's consent, approval, and of course, planning staff have since appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal. I do feel it's extremely minor, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just prepared a quick presentation, essentially the same presentation that we provided the Committee of Adjustment. I think it's only fair if I could just spend a few minutes and just go through it and just explain why we feel it's minor. And ultimately, what I'm going to ask is essentially that Planning Committee not agree to go forward to OLT. On the basis that, once again, it is minor. Maybe we can go through this, though, just as he said, quickly. If you can go to the next page, please. This is a property just on Lake Ontario. It's indicated on the red dot on this particular plan aerial. It's RL3 zoning, once again, on the lake. It's within a community that has almost, all 2-story, more or less compatible sized homes. There has been, I think, many homes that were built, prior to the changes in the bylaw 2014 that are probably over the residential floor area, but we did not go through and do a study on it. There was a couple of other variances that were approved that were compatible. Our application was approved, once again, about 4 weeks ago and appealed by the Town of Oakville Planning Department. Can you go to the next slide, please? This just gives a bit of a variation of the type of homes on the street with our proposal in the bottom right-hand corner. There's a lot of larger lots with larger homes. A lot of the existing homes do have sort of a step back in the roof lines that this existing home at 6 Arkendo has. However, as you can see, it's a large variety. The homes are relatively well sized for the lots. What we're proposing, once again, the bottom right-hand corner, is just to add to the second floor about 67 meters squared. And that's it. The only variance we're asking for is residential floor area. I believe 51%, whereas 43% is permitted only to, we're basically adding to the second floor only. The owners have 4 kids. They need some additional space on the second floor. That's really all we're looking for. Next slide, please. So as I noted, 67.56 meters squared. It's just basically within the area that's indicated on the lower illustration. The green is basically a sloped roof right now with the existing house. So basically we're just infilling that area with additional floor area to basically accommodate additional bedrooms. Once again, the additional existing RFA is 217 square meters. We're asking for 285. As I said, it's something I would think is more or less compatible in the streets. There is a lot of homes with full second floors on the street. There's 8 homes such as with this existing house that has a bit of a sloped roof at the front, and the second floor is stepped back. Next illustration, please. This is a streetscape of the neighbors on either side, as well as pictures that show the homes beneath. Once again, it's an 18-meter wide lot. There's a very large tree in front. You can see what I mean by the sloped roof on the second floor, how it's stepped back. I know the livable Oakville plan, of course, they look at step backs and look at the ability to decrease massing by stepping back somewhat. We do have the middle portion of the front elevation that continues to be stepped back, so there is a variation on the front elevation. Heights, coverage, side yards, everything else meets the bylaw. We're just asking for once again the additional residential floor area. Just in looking at these pictures, my feeling is that it's more or less compatible with what's on the street. The next slide just quickly illustrates there has been a few other, not many variances, but a few other variances that have been approved. 51 Arkendo was approved with almost exactly the same variation. That was back in 2016. There's been a few others with the lesser variance. The 51 Arkendo also had other variances, front yard coverage and so forth. We're only asking for the one variance. So just in summary, pertaining to the last slide, there are similar variances on the street. There's no other variances that we're requesting other than the residential floor area. We feel that the variation in the front elevation, the fact that it's not a large home by any means, you know, the fact that it's more or less compatible with the homes in the street, we feel it meets the 4 tests. By no means does this not meet the official plan as provided in the planning comments. I don't know what the you know, the benefit is to go to OLT on this particular matter when we're not asking for anything more than the residential floor area. And furthermore, and most importantly, the neighbors have no issue. We did have one letter of support next door, but there's no neighbors that showed up at the meeting. I think verbally they advised our client to, you know, good luck. They had no objections with this. So there's no uproar from the neighborhood. One variance, I would ask for planning committee to consider not agreeing to take this through to an Ontario Land Tribunal. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Outred. Council, are there any questions? All right. Mr. Outred, thank you very much for your information, and Council will make a decision momentarily.
Thank you very much.
Council, I'll call the vote on Councillor Nanda's motion. Is there any objection to Councillor Nanda's motion? There being none, that carries, Madam Clerk. Thank you, everybody. The next item on the agenda is the recommendation report for the zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision for 6th Oak Inc. at 103 Burnham Thorpe Road West. We have a presentation from Rob Thun, our senior planner. If you give your attention to Mr. Thun, he'll review what everybody's already read here and edify the public about what we're talking about.
Thank you, Mayor Burton and members of council. As the mayor has alluded to, it is a zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan and subdivision application submitted by Six Oak Inc. for a development of approximately 23 hectares of land located on the northwest corner of 6th Line and Burnham Thorpe Road West. The statutory public meeting that was held on the OPA, the zoning, and the subdivision was held on May 2nd, 2022. And as council will recall, two associated official plan amendments related to an amendment to the livable plan and also to the North Oakville East secondary plan were previously discussed and approved at the September 6, 2022 Planning and Development Council meeting. And with regards to tonight, the report can be found as item 7.1 on the agenda. Next slide, please. The slide before you identifies the subject property in black lines and its context with the surrounding area. As mentioned, the subject property is located on the northwest corner, so the upper left of 6th Line and Burnham Thorpe Road West. That's outlined in black. The majority of the site is within the West Morrison Creek subwatershed, a small portion along the north end, and that would be closer towards William Halton Parkway, is within the 16 Mile Creek subwatershed. The site also contains a woodlot. It is identified as Core 6 within the North Oakville Creek subwatershed study. And for council's information, there is another woodlot known as Core 7 immediately south of Burnham Thorpe Road West. As you can see from the air photo, there are existing residential uses east of 6th Line and also the regional's water reservoir. The unopened section of William Halton Parkway, which is under construction presently, defines the north property limit. Council may recall back in September we dealt with Star Oak and Docasa. Those two subject applications were appealed to the OLT and were adjudicated in February of this year, Star Oak, and also Docasa in March of this year. So we did receive approvals for those from the OLT on February 6th for Star Oak and March 23rd for Docasa. These two developments, along with subdivisions further south that are identified, these two developments, which are identified by the yellow stars, and the subdivisions to the south of those are presently in detailed design. Next slide, please. The proposal that is before council, as mentioned, reflects 23 hectares of land for the following: a future block of employment, which is block number 1. Block number 2, the secondary school, which is the emphasis of tonight's application. Block number 3 would be a stormwater management pond associated with the West Morrison Creek subwatershed. 3 blocks of the natural heritage system, blocks 4, 5, and 6. And then there are a number of smaller blocks associated with road widenings for 6th Line and for Burnham Thorpe Road. And I apologize, Your Worship and members of council, the subdivision is not as clear as I anticipated. Was having computer problems when the proposal was, or the presentation was being prepared. On the right-hand side of the screen is the site plan, or the latest site plan for the school site. As you can see, the high school, being 3 stories, will be located immediately on the intersection of 6th and Burnham Thorpe Road. It will go northward to the linkage, which would be core number 5, and that's where the sports field and the future dome, which we're calling the sports facility, will be located. Access to the site, as you can see from the plan, is from 6th Line, Burnham Thorpe Road, and block number 1 will have it from 6th Line and William Halton Parkway in the future. Just for council's information, if you were to drive by the site, Burnham Thorpe Road is approximately 4 meters difference in grade from the top of the site for where the playing field is. So there are challenges with regards to grading the site and putting the built form on that corner. The site plan, or the school site, will be required to go through the site plan process, as will the future block for employment. But the block for employment is not under consideration for a site plan at the present time. Only the school block will be coming in the very near future. And the school itself has funding from the province, and they are targeting a date of the 2026-2027 school year. Next slide, please. As I've mentioned, council did deal with the official plans for the site. Bylaw 2022-065 related to OPA 48 amended the urban structure for the town through the Livable Oakville plan, as you can see on the screen. And similarly, 2022-066 related to OPA 327 created an amendment for the North Oakville East Secondary Plan. And just for council's information, and I've highlighted this in the staff report, the northerly portion of the site is within the Parkway Belt West Plan, and is also subject to a minister's zoning order. But what's happening right now with the creation of the subdivision, no new lines are being created within the Parkway Belt or affecting the MZO. So from staff's perspective, the policies of the Parkway Belt West Plan are not being impacted at all. And also the province is going through a revocation process to remove the Parkway Belt West Plan from this legislation. That revocation has not occurred to date, but they're going through it, and the deadline for comments was the end of December. Next slide, please. The existing zoning on the site, as you can see from the right or the left-hand side of the screen, is future development. That is a standard zoning category for all of North Oakville prior to development occurring. With regards to the proposed zoning, bylaw 2023-013, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, rezones the site from future development to institutional for the school, natural heritage system for the 3 blocks, stormwater management facility for the pond. Block number 1 is not being rezoned. It will remain FD. So the amended regulations that apply strictly to Block 2 of the school include the sports facility related to the sports dome as an additional permitted use, and we have defined it. The inclusion of a daycare as an additional permitted use. Deeming Burnhamthorpe Road West as the front lot line. Exempting the maximum front and flankage and the minimum building height allows for flexibility for the design considering the grades of the site. Establishes a maximum height of 21 meters for the school and 30 meters for the sports facility. And this is related to the grades on the site. And we are very specific in North Oakville with what established grade is. Also, the school would be exempt from sections 1.7 subsection 3 related to the availability of water, wastewater, base course asphalt for the streets, and the availability of stormwater management facilities. From that perspective, we're looking at trying to enhance the application, getting through the process and getting the school built in a sooner time frame. From the parking perspective, we looked at it from the operations of the site as opposed to typical examples south of Dundas Street, because this is the first school in North Oakville. And that's the reason why you see the minimum of 205 parking spaces and a maximum of 256 parking spaces in the proposed bylaw. That additional 51 spaces would be available should the need arise. But the plan itself shows 205 at the present time. Okay, the sports facility will operate in after hours time period. So the benefit of having the school use not being undertaken at the time of the sports facility, they can use the same parking. So that you don't have to double dip. And it also promotes then the ability for North Oakville with a reduced emphasis on parking as one of the requirements for the vision for North Oakville. Next slide, please. This is the first high school in North Oakville, and it would assist in creating the complete community as envisioned by the North Oakville East Secondary Plan. The proposed bylaw can be found in Appendix A, and the conditions of draft approval can be found in Appendix D. So in conclusion, Your Worship, staff are putting forward the recommendation as shown on the screen for Council's consideration and the support of the application to get the school through the process, built, and part of the community that is so much desired.
Thank you very much. I imagine the parents and high school kids of North Oakville may be happy about this. Councillor Elgar, you have a question? Let's see how happy
yes.
you are.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. Mr. Thun, just want to know, does the Halton or Catholic School Board or the Public School Board own the property now?
No, it is owned by Sixth Oak, Inc. It will be purchased by the Halton District School Board once the plan is registered.
Okay, because...
So the block has not been created.
Why I ask that question is because of what has happened over at Saw Wet, where we have 4.3 hectares of land for a school, but also there's a condition in there that if the school is not built by March of 2027, in fact, they have an as-of right to put in, throw in 40 more houses, so there'd never be anything, no land over there for a school ever. So that won't be the case in this time.
Through you, Your Worship, the emphasis on this application was the school and the building of the high school. So there's an emphasis on getting the school through the process and also getting built. So
Okay.
I foresee this development probably occurring sometime this year. We have to still go through the site plan process, but you will be seeing in the very near future, probably earthworks starting sometime summertime or a little bit later.
So is that the school that was going to be built at Niagara and Dundas? Is that where
Yes,
it moved
was.
from Niagara and Dundas over to there?
That is correct.
Okay, well, I think the people will be very happy up there to get a school. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Elgar. I'm glad you're happy about this. Councillor McNeice and then Councillor Nanda.
Yes, through your worship, thank you for the presentation. Just wanted to ask a question about the daycare. So how do we ensure that the daycare gets built? I know there's quite a shortage of daycare spaces right now, and my understanding is that we're allowing it as a permitted use, but can we ensure that it's part of the package that gets built?
Through you, Your Worship, the Councillor McNeice, it's already in the concepts that have been provided to town staff for review as a preliminary site plan. It'll be in the ground floor on the west wing of the school building. So
Okay.
it will be facing the, if we go back to, if we can have the site plan back up, please. So if you look at the proposal along Burnham Thorpe Road, you'll see a bunch of rooms that are I'll call it on the west wing by the access from Burnham Thorpe Road. That's where the daycare is going to be.
Okay, thank you. And would it be operated by, or how would it be operated? Do we know?
Similar to the daycares that are in the schools already, it'd be separate. There'd be a separate entity running the daycare.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Councillor McNeice. Councillor Nanda? Oh, we've got a parade here. Councillor Knoll and Councillor O'Meara then. Councillor Nanda.
Thank you, Mayor. I can say on behalf of Ward 7, thank you very much. We are very excited for this to come up. Just in discussions before, can you verify that if we can get shovels in the ground soon, that the opening date could actually be 2025 instead of 2026?
Through you, Your Worship, I have no control over the construction timing and how that evolves, but I can take that back to the school board, but it does take approximately 3 years to build.
Okay, 3 years, not 2. I heard 2 years, 1 year for elementary school, 2 years for...
Elementary schools, because they're lesser in square footage, are quicker to build. But the high school being 3 stories and approximately 144,000 square feet will take a while to build.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the clarification.
That is a big high school. Reminds me of Queen Elizabeth Park and the schools that got built in that era. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question with respect to the issue that Councillor Elgar raised a moment ago, and that is this the school that replaces the original concept at Dundas and Neagawa? So with respect to that, has the H been lifted off that land yet?
Councillor
your
Knoll's
worship,
asking about
are you asking about the Neagawa
the
site?
corner at Neagawa and Dundas.
Yeah.
The zoning hasn't been dealt with on that site.
Okay.
Your answer is
will
not
that
yet.
occur? When will, is there a problem with my audio? I guess you're not hearing me very well.
Well, Councillor, you're kind of asking a question that's off the file, so it might not be the best time or the best people to ask.
No, I understand, but you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a general sense of when that might be dealt with?
Well, let's see if Mr. Charles wants to grapple with that.
That'd be great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me, and through you. We have been having some preliminary discussions with someone who's looking to purchase the McGowan and the Serbian Church property. There's still some unknowns with that, but the intent would be that as an application comes through, we would be dealing with the land use designation on the site. For a bit of clarity on the site through the secondary plan, there's an overlay which identifies the potential for a school there. So the intent was that as we go through and we finalize the secondary school here, then there wouldn't be the overlay on the Dundas Neagawa site. So from that perspective, there wouldn't be a holding provision.
Great. So invariably, it's whenever something is presented to be considered for that site, that's when the H will be lifted. So that's great news. Thank you for that. Second question is, and this I didn't see anything in this report, but Mr. Thun, when you brought this proposal back to us when it was in its early days, there was a commercial component that was, if I'm not mistaken, it was connected to the school itself. Is that not, that's not in the cards any longer?
Through your worship to Councillor Knoll, the commercial component to the proposal at the present time is a sports facility only. It'll be run in the after hours timeframe. The school board will own the land, operate it until 6 o'clock roughly for school activities. And then the third party, which will build the dome for making it a 4-season field, will take it on from the 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock timeframe.
Okay. But the bottom line though is that the school board maintains control of the facility because it's their property, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. Thun.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question with regards to the track in the field. Will that be a lit field up there or not?
Through your worship, yes, it will be a lit field.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I know we need those. That's great.
Thank you, Councillor O'Meara. Are there any members of the public with information for council on this matter? All right, I'm going to confine the question to the table and I'll look for somebody to move the staff recommendation. Councillor Shi, any objection? There being none, congratulations, Councillor Shi. Your motion to move the high school forward has carried. Council, there are no confidential discussion items, no advisory committee minutes, and it's time, therefore, for someone to move that we rise and report to council. And Councillor Longo, thank you very much for that. Any objection? There being none, that carries, and I rise and report the Committee of the Whole has met and made recommendations on consent items 4.1, confidential consent item 5.1, and discussion item 7.1, as noted by the clerk. A mover and seconder for this report would be in order now. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Adams, thank you. Any objection? Thank you, everybody. Congratulations. That motion carries as well. Council, does anyone have any new business of an emergency, congratulatory, or condolence nature? All right. Then it would be in order to have a mover and seconder for consideration and reading of the bylaws as listed in the agenda. Councillor Lischina and Councillor O'Meara, thank you. Any objection? There being none, the bylaws are read, considered, and passed. And that ends our work, and it ends the meeting. Thank you, everybody. It's been terrific working with you.